I'm sorry. We'll start, ma'am, with you.
Oh, okay, great. Hi, I'm Celia Garrity. I'm from Narragansett. Just if you want to take a moment of my time, if y'all want to just shake up or wiggle your heads or something, because I know you're getting more tired than we all are.
We appreciate that, but we're at the point where we need to power through.
You just want power through. Go for it, girl. I'm here in support of the bill. I've been in support of abortion rights for women since I was about 13 years old, which sounds odd, but I grew up in a surgeon's household and knew a lot of stuff before a lot of my peers did. When I was a freshman in high school, the sad, horrible thing in my Catholic high school was one of the seniors died because her appendix ruptured. I was probably the only one in the school besides the nuns who knew the real story was that an abortionist pierced her uterus, pierced her bowel, she became septic and died. And the only reason I knew it was part of our dinner table discussion. When I was 14, one of my friends became pregnant. Her family decided that she would get out of school, the family would raise the baby as a sibling, and she had no choice in the discussion, period. That was the end of her life, basically. She's never got a high school diploma or a GED. My mother at that time said, "Don't you dare think, if you get pregnant, that you're going to raise your baby." And I said, "Mama, I'd have been to New York and back before you even knew anything about it, because it's my choice what I'm going to do." As I got older, I became a licensed clinical social worker. My specialty was cancer and AIDS, but when the neonatal social workers were on vacation, I became the social worker assigned to all of the terminal infants and their mothers, all of the neonatal demises. I've sat with women who've had to have late-term abortions because their own health was in jeopardy, when with great regrets. I've sat on ethics panels debating whether the woman with the ectopic pregnancy that was causing her sepsis that would kill her should be forced to have an abortion to save her life. The ethics committee didn't come to a conclusion, but as soon as she went into a coma, her husband made the decision to save his wife, since the pregnancy was never going to be viable. I do have a lot of sympathy for women who have post-traumatic stress, but thanks to the Google, I looked up a study that came out a few years ago, and the National Institutes of Health show that there is no difference in a longitudinal study comparing women across the country at like 94 different settings. There was no difference in the incidence of post-traumatic stress after abortion, meaning that, yes, I'm very sympathetic to the women that have spoken to their traumas and their inability to adjust to it, but just as many women out there are perfectly fine after their abortions. They deal with it and they've moved on with their lives in their own way, and those stories shouldn't sway us to take away a woman's choice for what her future is. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that I appreciate that you're all listening. I realize that Senator Metz, who's stepped out for a second, is on the opposite side of the fence. Some of you are, some of you aren't. But I would urge you to consider that we never really know when we're going to be faced with an unwanted pregnancy. It could be husbands sabotaging birth control. It could be rape. It could be many things. It's not necessarily the woman's choice to get pregnant. In America, we don't use abortion as a form of birth control the way they do in Russia and some of the Eastern Bloc countries. I think we have to let an individual make her own decisions about what she wants to do. The other thing I'd like to say is, I watched the testimony earlier of the experts that got to speak before the general public. And I must say that I do resent that some of them were called experts, and I see no reason why most of them couldn't have stood in line with the rest of, the common folk like us. When you have Catholic friars stand up here, he's an expert on the Catholic theology. That's great. that doesn't make him any more of an expert on abortion than I am or anybody else. We all have feelings. I'm being threatened from behind from someone who says, watch it.
As a priest, you're
Ma'am, you'll have your chance to speak, please. This is not a debate. Each person is given their individual opportunity to talk.
You know, I worked in Texas for many years. I understand the position of other people. I can respect their belief system and their need to adhere to their Bible the way they see it. But their Bible and their belief system is not mine, and it's not everyone's. And I think we need to separate church from state in this debate because, in fact, we are supposed to be a secular state house. And I know that it's hard to separate church from state when you're the one sitting in those chairs and you have powerful lobbyists that are given special privileges to testify early when you were more alert.
Senator Lombardi.
Point of order. Respectfully, that is so far from the truth. With all due respect, both sides were able to submit a list of panels. So please, no, please don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you. What I'm saying here is that the chairwoman worked diligently to make sure that both sides of this issue were able to speak equally and transparently. And there were panels of both sides that were presented. And she continues to do that at 20 past 12, allowing one side to speak and then another side to speak. So please don't mischaracterize what this committee's doing.
I'm not sure all of the ones on our side should have been early either. But I'm sorry to have offended you, sir.
You didn't offend me. You didn't
But
offend me.
in
But
conclusion, I would...
excuse me. You didn't offend me. It's when we do not represent the truth that is problematic. So please don't make accusations about the committee that aren't true. That's all I'm saying. The panels were submitted. Both sides were allowed equally to come and testify today. And we've been doing that since, well, by my math, since 5 o'clock. So that's 7.5 hours we've been doing it. And everybody's been treated equally on this issue. And but for this little transaction that took place, everybody's behaved wonderfully. So I think we're a model for all legislatures on how to act on this issue.
No. Ma'am, please conclude your testimony.
Anyway, aside from this, I hope that you speak to your hearts. You speak to what your constituents want, not necessarily to what institutions want. Thank you.